Bigger showroom means more inventory, and that means bigger savings for you. Come to the house at Good Serviceville and buy from Mike Birch Ford, and we'll give you 5 free oil changes while in 36,000-mile bumper-to-bumper warranty.
If you're looking for an incredible deal on a new or pre-owned vehicle from the dealer who has always put you first, stop the search. Call the all-new Mike Birch Ford in Blackshear.
This is Sammy Dixon saying thank you. Thank you very much for your business.
Are you thinking of selling your home or business? Hi, I'm Gloria, and as a realtor, I know that getting rid of the clutter in your home is one of the best ways to help sell your house quickly. At Jessup Premium Storage, our family-owned company provides a convenient and secure building for all of your storage needs. We now offer outdoor covered parking for that antique car, boat, or RV. Due to our recent expansion, we offer units that range in size from as small as a bedroom closet to as big as a one-car garage. All of our units are inside and climate controlled with 24-hour access and security. Our leases run month to month, so you're not locked into a long-term commitment, giving you the flexibility to move your belongings out the minute you purchase your new home. Stop by today or give us a call, 530-8003. That's 530-8003. Jessup Premium Storage.
They're cool, clean, and secure.
It is 8 o'clock. You're listening to the Big Dog, WIFO-FM in Jessup, 105.5 on your FM dial. Currently here in Southeast Georgia, we have 52 degrees. No, I don't need to answer that right there. Sorry, folks, I can't answer the phone live on the air, okay? We have a high today around 82 degrees, somewhere in that area, low 80s today, maybe upper 70s in some areas, but upper 70s to low 80s. The automobile is at 10.4 feet, currently 52 degrees here in Southeast Georgia, or actually 62 degrees here in Southeast Georgia. All right, 1 minute after 8 o'clock, it is now time for the world-famous Butch and Bob Show, brought to you by Mike Birch Ford in Blackshear, by Jessup Premium Storage out here on the Waycross Highway, and also brought to you by Parker Insurance and Realty, located on Macon Street in downtown Jessup. And Bob, we got a candidate in the studio with us this morning.
Who's changed his mind. First he was running for, last time we were here, we were running for
He's
state
moving
rep.
on up.
Now you're moving to the Senate seat, held by Tommy Williams. What made you change your mind?
Delvis Dutton.
Well, I tell you, honestly, I feel that I can represent Wayne County in a body of 56 as a voice of one of 56, stronger than I can in a body of 180. And it was not something that I saw, that we could see coming. But with that announcement, the pressure was there, knowing that I had the legislative experience to represent 11 counties. And that was the heaviest part of it, is what it would take to represent 11 counties in the Senate and to do what I need to be doing on their behalf. And that's ultimately where it came down to, was
Okay.
How can I better represent Wayne, but how can I represent 11 counties?
It's a huge district, or huge Senate area. Again, it's Appleton, Jeff Davis, Long, Montgomery, Telfair, Toombs, Truitland, Wayne, and then Wheeler, portions of Tappan and Liberty. So it's a lot of travel.
It is. It's a congressional district, much of the 12th, as a matter of fact, that we ran for 2 years ago. So that was the same consideration then, was how do we represent the 16 southern counties of the 12th congressional district? How do we make sure that they're represented? So that's why we got in that race. So, we did well in that race. Everything on this end of the state went our way, but, Augusta area had the voting block. So same consideration here. How do we represent 11 counties that are, at risk? Because in Atlanta, you've got 6 or 8 senators for one county, but here we've got one voice for 11. So we've got to make sure we make a decision here. And I would ask anyone that's listening to stop what they're doing this morning and really, listen through this and make a decision, or come by the train depot tomorrow and ask me any questions that they have, because this was a very serious decision on May 24th.
Again, you're in full campaign mode. As you mentioned, you got the event tomorrow, inviting anybody to meet and greet you and ask questions. That's tomorrow from 11 to 1:30 at the Jessup Train Depot here in Jessup at 124 Northwest Broad Street. So what else is going to take place there?
Well, we're going to have it during the lunch hour for anyone that wants to stop by, pick up signs, help with contributions or anything along those lines, or if they just want to come by and tell me why they don't support my candidacy, or ask me any questions that they may have. I mean, it's all about being accessible and available. So we'll be there from 11:30 to 1:30, and we're expecting a large turnout. So I hope to be able to answer any questions that anyone has during this And the question that I have for anyone making this decision is, consider if I hadn't qualified, what would we be left with? We would be left with one choice. And so it was not something that I decided easily, but the responsibility that I felt, it was something that I felt like we needed to do.
Delvis, have you talked with Tommy about this? Tommy Williams, the current state senator?
I have. The biggest thing, he's done a lot of good for this district and Wayne County for 18 years. And it weighs on you, living out of a suitcase. I can't commit to you that I would ever do it for 18 years, I can assure you. And he's got things he wants to do in his life. So, I respect that and, look forward to have his help in this to make sure that this county, this district and this county is taken care of.
I know that Tommy, remember when he first started off 18 years ago and really rose to prominence in the Senate, becoming one of the leaders in the Senate, big leaders in the Senate. But during that time period, got married, had kids, started a new business. So now I guess his priorities are there, and this opens the door for you, Delvis Dutton, to be able to move in there and try to represent the area of this district and the Senate district.
Well, sure, and it's not lost on me. I didn't anticipate ever being in politics. I was a well driller, drilled wells in 20 counties in this area, and that's all I wanted to do. But when I answered that call in my life, we served in Atlanta for 4 years, and there's a record there. I don't believe you'll see anyone call my votes, any vote, into question about how it represented this district. But they won't call my integrity into question or my ethics. So there is a record there that I will be going into the Senate with to, fight for this district and make sure that everyone knows what's happening, and also to represent the district in Atlanta when we're making those decisions for the entire state.
How disappointing is it that you don't have Tommy's support, though? He's already back in the lawyer out of his hometown of Vidalia, Tillery guy. So how disappointing is that?
Well, there's going to be, he's a trial lawyer that's going to have a lot of support from the Trial Lawyer Association. I understand that. The Metro Chamber out of Atlanta is already lining up against me.
The Metro Chamber?
Yeah.
What is that?
3 years ago, we had a battle over water rights,
Mm-hmm.
and me, along with a handful of others, stood in the way of that. And there's one thing that we have that the metro area does not, and that's the only thing that's on the table is our natural resource, our water.
Mm-hmm.
We have alternative anything, alternative energy of any kind, but we don't have alternative water. And we won that battle by publicly holding to the truth. And they're going to be in that realm, fighting us on this. They don't want me back in Atlanta, but I will tell you that South Georgia is dying a slow death, whether we want to admit it or not. There are two Georgias, and we see trade-offs, and we see counties dissolve down here. And if we ever give them the riparian right of water, if we ever give them the capacity to control our resource that we possess that they want, it's gonna happen a lot faster.
Okay.
Any Democrats running the race?
Not that we're aware of.
Okay, so it's just, like I said, the primary is the May 24th. So right now it's just two candidates in the race, you and the guy from Vidalia. So, and you got your meeting tomorrow. So what about all these other counties? You have people in these counties supporting you. And
we do.
Doing your campaign. How's that work?
Well, it's not lost on me. There was a plan for me. It made no political sense for me to get in that congressional race, none, with the voting block being in Augusta. But it came down to I had to do what I felt was right. And I knew that if someone elected out of Augusta would neglect 16 counties in South Georgia. And ultimately that's what we've seen. But what it did was we built a team in 8 of these 11 counties that we now have in this race. And then after that race, we raised couple $100,000 in 15 weeks in that congressional race. Most of that money came out of Tatnall, Evans, Wayne County, and Bullitt County, people that knew me. That's where the money's coming from for this candidacy for Senate, is going to be coming out of the district, not out of the metro area. So that team in place, The other three that weren't on the ballot were very strong in. One of them I happened to represent for 3 years in Atlanta, so they know what to expect out of me. So I think we're poised very well to represent this district in the Senate.
Are you the only one of the two that has experience in the Capitol up there as a former state representative, any other political position in the state?
I am. There's that was one of the considerations. I got a phone call the night that Senator Williams announced that he was retiring, and it was from a state rep up in the north end of this Senate district. And he said, look, we're the only two with legislative experience. And he said, you're talking local legislation for 11 counties. It's a very serious consideration. And he said, I'm not running for it because I'm in a battle for my House race. But he said, you really need to consider it. So, you know, that's really where a lot of the weight came from in this.
Well, I think we all know that your dedication to the district when you were a state representative and the things that you did, you were your own person for those 4 years you looked after the district. Sometimes you didn't fall into line with what some people wanted you to do, but you still looked out for the district. How can you do that for 11 counties when you become, if you become the state senator?
Well, what we've got to do is decide what we really want. In representation. If we want to know the truth of what's being decided in Atlanta, and if we want to have our voice heard when those decisions are made, and that's what I tried to do for 4 years. I'm not a politician. I've never, aspired to be a senator or a House rep. I was a well driller. But I felt like that I needed to do what I expected everyone else to be doing, and that is to represent the district and not themselves or their own personal agenda, going higher kind of thing. So this is not about Delvis ever becoming something else. This is about me going and doing the work for 11 counties and making sure that the leaders of these counties know what decisions are being made and what the consequences or the outcomes going to be from those decisions. And, we did that for 4 years, and I believe that I have the capacity of doing that for 11 counties with the positions that I've been placed in over the last 2 years.
Do you think that your experience as a small business owner for all those years in well drilling helped you with your representation of this district when you were a state rep?
Absolutely. I drilled wells from the poorest to the richest in an 80-mile radius. Every walk of life that you can imagine, they've got my cell number. I've got the same cell number since 2001. It was not always easy. They had a write-up in the paper talking about one of the hit pieces that hit me in the congressional run, talking about taxes owed. I did owe inventory tax to Tattnall County. It was a business, and we went through economic downturns, and we went through equipment failures, but we paid the monies that we owed. We might not have paid it as soon as we wanted to, but I know the hardships. I know the realities of being in business and having to sit down and make payroll on Friday and figure out what's got to suffer to do that. But I've never walked away from any debt. I've never, not done what I said I was going to do. So, to answer your question, absolutely. I think I've got a very good sense of what every walk of life, from agriculture to industrial side to government side, especially because of the 4 years that I served.
Okay. Well, as a small business owner myself, I know what you mean by sometimes there's things that you have to put off a little bit because of the economic times. In the studio with us this morning is Delvis Dutton. He's decided to run for state senate for Tommy Williams' seat. Senator Williams has decided to not run for re-election. Bob, I know you got more questions over there.
I just wanted to remind people about the event tomorrow. I appreciate you coming in. Like I said, and people need to know that you're not running for state rep, you're running for state senate instead. So that's a switch, but I'm sure they haven't done the ballots yet, so I'm sure that's not going to be a problem.
Well, and that's another thing. I mean, 8 months I was getting phone calls asking me to please consider running again, and the first few months I could laugh it off and say, y'all find another horse, or do something different. I've served my time. But the guilt started weighing on me at night that I was turning my back on what I knew, what I needed to be doing, and knowing what's at stake here. And so we announced for the House, and everyone had to do a gut check for 3 or 4 weeks to whether they wanted to support me to go back to Atlanta again or not. And that was happening. And then all of a sudden, being obedient, this door opens, and all of a sudden I can, instead of being a piece of Wayne, a part of Wayne, we were talking about the district lines.
Mm-hmm.
I can now represent the entire county in a body of 56, where my voice is much louder with any issues that we have.
Okay, now tell us a little bit about Delvis Dutton, just in case folks have moved into the area, they don't know Delvis, they don't know you, where you live, a little bit about your personal life. That
I live in Glenville, born and raised. I'm on a farm I'm the sixth generation to live on it. And my father was born in my driveway. He was delivered, and they paid the doctor $28. I went to Georgia Southern. I worked at UPS for 7.5 years. I started the well drilling company when I was 22 years old, which I don't know that anyone can do in today's climate. But we started that well drilling company. I loved it. I was servicing people, and going through our revival at Trinity Baptist Church was placed on my heart that everything was going to dissolve anyway, and that I needed to be more out front, and I needed to be willing to do what I was expecting others to do. So I went through a 28-day journey in my life, and I answered that call and placed my name on the ballot, and I haven't been turned loose yet. Last year I traveled around the 29 states meeting with House and Senate leaders.
now tell us about that. You did last time you were here. Tell us what you're involved with outside of running for office.
Well, the problem we have is everyone looks for Washington to solve our problems. So Washington is the problem. And I learned in that congressional run that we're not going to solve it in Washington. We're going to solve it with our state legislatures coming together and holding together. We're not a United States anymore. We're a divided nation. We're 50 independent states doing whatever we're told from the federal government. But if we can get, let's just say, 9 states holding together on these issues, we can push back, and we can actually, I believe, see a snowball effect. But the hope is, like I said, I went to 29 states, and it didn't matter if they were blue or red. We found the same problems and the same answers. So if we can bring these state legislatures, the bodies that are closest to the people, together to address the issues that we're seeing and making decisions together as the United States, we can fix these problems. But the Appeal to Heaven movement that I've been involved with, we now have that being represented in 18 state legislatures.
It's called what again, please?
Appeal to Heaven.
And the purpose of that organization?
It is actually inspired by Washington's flag. It's the first flag of this nation. People can go to appealtoheaven.org and look at that.
Appealtoheaven.org?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
It's right of conscience. It's when government and man will fail you, all we have left is an appeal to heaven. Well, what we've been doing is gathering legislators who will vote and hold themselves accountable without fear of a worldly cost, that will, openly, honestly communicate what they're doing and why they're doing it. And we're gathering those. 18 states now. There's 3 in South Dakota. There's 24 in Arkansas. So, you see 7 in New Mexico. But they're out there. And as we pull those together, there's strength in numbers. So, we'll continue with that effort as well.
Okay. Delvis Dutton in the studio with us this morning. Once again, you've got an event tomorrow here in Jessup where people come meet and greet you and also have lunch. Once again, go over the details of that.
Yeah, sure. We'll be there 11:30 to 1:30. They can eat with us.
The train depot.
Yes, sir.
Behind the Chamber of Commerce. Okay.
That's correct. And the reason we're doing that is this is like I said, it's a very serious decision come May 24th. And I want to make sure that everyone has, they can, go to my website, delviswdutton.com, and my cell number's at the top. They can call me with any concerns they have. They can come by the train depot and help us. I would ask this. There is going to be, in our elections today, across this state on May 24th, people are going to go vote on feelings, not facts. I would, dare to say that the majority of people that in this 19th district in these 11 counties aren't going to have a clue any measures I stood in the way of in Atlanta for 4 years or any votes that I cast for 4 years. They're going to vote on a feeling. So I'm asking people to open their eyes and to look at what I did for 4 years, look at why I'm doing this and why I'm even on the ballot. and make that decision. If they support me in this and they want me representing them in Atlanta, then I ask them to answer any conviction that is, whether that's to help put out signs, whether that's to make phone calls to their friends, whether that's to follow me on Facebook. It's easy to find me. I think I'm probably the only Delvis Dutton on Facebook. Or help with campaign contributions to get our message out. So,
okay. Well, I went to the appealtoheaven.org, and I did not realize that was George Washington's first flag there. I saw the lapel pin that you've got on, and I'm wondering, why you had that on there. There it is, the flag that George Washington had. Was that his first flag, you said? And Appeal to Heaven with that tree on there?
Talk about a lunatic.
Who?
George Washington
okay.
had to be, by most people's standards. He paid for out of his money to build 6 ships to take on the British Navy.
Out of his own pocket?
Out of his own pocket.
Ships. Okay.
The largest navy in world history. The sun never set on the British Navy, and he was going to take it on with 6 ships. Well, that's the flag he flew over. And the Appeal to Heaven language on it comes from John Locke's Second Treatise of 1690. When government and man will fail you, all you have left is an appeal to heaven. Washington was either a lunatic or he was a man that believed in the providential hand of God. One of the two.
I think it was the latter.
I agree with you. So I will tell you, if you research that flag and when it was sewn together, we are living in that age right now. The exact same things that they were facing then, they were dealing with an oppressive government across the pond, not in Washington. So, holding to those principles that you see there on that website is what we're all about and what we've been trying to do.
Yeah, I was wondering what kind of tree it is. It's the white pine, which was a very important pine back at that time of George Washington. Big old white pine tree.
Yes, sir. It was the cash crop, and it was being confiscated by the king. They were coming over, and it didn't matter if you owned it or not.
They were going to cut it down anyway.
That's right.
Okay. Delvis Dutton here this morning, running for state senate, and Tommy Williams' seat. Senator Williams has decided to not run for re-election. And Delvis, once again, you've got that event tomorrow at the Wayne County Train Depot, Jessup Train Depot, located behind the Chamber of Commerce, 11:30 to 1:30. You'll have, I guess, a finger food lunch or something like that, or it's going to be a sit-down type thing.
It's going to be both. We've got Sybil's catering it.
Oh, okay.
And so the main thing is come by and see us, ask any questions. If you don't know where you're at on this, at least come by and ask those questions, because like I said, this is very, very serious decision. And, no matter what, they need to be at the polls in May. Early voting starts May 4th. Don't allow yourself to be absent in this election. Make your decision. There's 2 of us. And ask yourself, would you be comfortable had I not signed up on this ballot and given you that option?
Okay, it's 11 counties that this district seat is. District 19, you said?
Yes, sir.
District 19, 11 counties, and pretty much every one of them are rural counties, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and no really big metropolitan area. Like there's a Jessup and Vidalia and Glenville and towns like that throughout it, and Baxley and so forth.
Yes, sir. Hazelhurst.
And the event's tomorrow at 11 to 1:30. Not 11:30. 11 starts at
11 to
1:30.
Even easier for folks to drop in.
11 to 1:30. Thank you, Bob, for correcting us on that. 11. You better show up at 11. Delvis, is your event.
I'll be there about 10 or so. But they just tell me where to go. But
that's right. You got your folks that say, you got your handlers that say, no, you need here, you need here, you need here.
That's right. We've got the calendar set. I just follow it every day.
Okay. So you feel comfortable that you've got a good organization in place in these counties to be able to run for a good election here in this Senate?
We do. It was unexpected. I mean, Senator Williams made this decision the day before, the last legislative day before qualifying.
Amazing.
And, we have 9 weeks to make this decision. So it's rushed. We need a lot of help. And that's what I say. Anything that, if you're supporting this, get on Facebook, share our page, follow it, like the things, comments on it. Help us get in front of the 12,000 voters that's going to make this decision. Help us get the vote out.
Okay. Well, Delvis, look forward to seeing you tomorrow down there at the train depot, and we're stop by anytime and visit with us, and we'd like to have you back on sometime.
Absolutely, I appreciate it very much.
We'll have you on between now and May 24th.
Yeah.
Thanks, sir.
All right, and so Delvis, thanks for coming in. All right, we'll be back more of the world famous Butch and Bob show in just a moment, right here on WIFO 105.5 FM in Jessup.
Hi, my name is Garrett Pye. I'm a physical therapist at Smart Physical Therapy. Physical therapy is a conservative approach to a healthy and pain-free living. Here at Smart, you're guaranteed one-on-one time every visit, every day. I, Garrett Pye, specialize in headaches, vertigo, and advanced manual therapy skills to address any soft tissue or joint-related pain. Whether it's your back, neck, knee, foot, ankle, doesn't matter. Come see me, Garrett Pye at Smart Physical Therapy. We are located at 1251 South 1st Street, next door to David O'Keefe Storage Buildings. Please call Smart Physical Therapy at 912-559-2071 and ask for me, Garrett Pye. Again, the phone number is 912-559-2071. And remember, it's your choice on which facility you choose. So call or come by Smart Physical Therapy today.
Smart Physical Therapy, located in Jessup at 1251 South 1st Street. Give them a call at 912-559-2071. 105.5 FM in Jessup, Big Dog Country Radio, WIFO. Well, Bob, you had a chance to go out there and, go to Mount Trashmore, but it doesn't look that way, does it?
It's a big old place, that's for sure.
You went out to the Republic's, the Broadhurst Environmental.
Just glad to be invited. Like I said, when they had them on last week, I told them the last time they'd been there was 94. Hadn't really been out there since all that, but I had a chance to take the tour, see the facility. A lot of acres, 2,000 acres, it's just a big old place. What amazed me was, they're worried about coal ash going in there. I asked the question, when I went out there to get the contact person, they wouldn't let me back, but I stopped at the trailer. And I told my friend, I sat there for 10 minutes and just watched truck after truck after truck go in there. And I just wondered, I was curious how many trucks go in there a day. That's the first question I asked yesterday, how many trucks are going in there a day? Mm-hmm. And the average is 119 per day.
119 trucks a day dropping off trash.
So that's 5-6 days a week. Do the math. I mean, who knows what's in that landfill? That's my concern. Forget coal ash. What else is in there? I mean, it's 119.
It's trash. I mean, it's what a landfill is.
It's just unbelievable. But it's a huge operation. I'm glad to hear they're going to have the public tours. I'm sure a lot of people want to go out there and look at it. But I said, talking to all the politicians that were there, I mean, this is a multi-billion-dollar company. They got 190 landfills across the United States. This isn't their first rodeo. They've got all the answers. They answer. You can ask any question.
Got the answers down pat, don't they?
Right. I mean, so it's it's going to be interesting how it all plays out between March 16th. And I still have contended from day one. This is not a local issue. This isn't a state issue. This is a federal government issue. There's where the battle is. The federal government changed the concept to where you can put coal ash from ponds to lined landfills. So we probably go to lined landfill. They're right there by the rail yard. We took a picture of that. They're like where they set it up for the rail yard. They're like from here to you from the railroad track. So it's not going to take them long.
You can get a shovel and just dump it out, huh?
I mean, they're making plans. They say, and that's their typical statement. We don't really have any plans right now. We don't have a customer right now. But believe me, they're not clearing out 6 acres of land by the railroad tracks if they don't plan to bring the rail yard into that landfill and bring that coal ash into Wayne County. So they're definitely making their plans to do it. They're not making any bones about it. Like I said, they're gung-ho. That's what they're going to do. So I thought the most interesting thing, like I said, Bill Harvey asked a lot of questions, but the news item came out yesterday. Like I said, there's language in that contract that people aren't comfortable with, and he asked that representative if they would be willing to sit down and renegotiate part of that contract, and they pretty much admitted they would be glad to sit down with the county and try to go over that contract and see what they could do to ease their mind about the contract. So that was a newsworthy item that came out of that meeting yesterday. But like I said, we talked to Mike Roberts in depth. We'll hear that interview tomorrow. We got David O'Keefe. You'll hear that Monday. So everybody there, was impressed with the business. It's a multi-billion-dollar business, but no one there is in favor of coal ash coming into Wayne County. So we'll see how it plays out. But okay. I still say it's a battle. The battle's going to wind up in court. The question is, how much do you want to spend? That's my problem with it. And that's why I keep telling politicians, don't tell me you don't care what it costs, because we can't bankrupt the county. If it gets $25-30 million and we have to shut down, the county commissioner talked about that at their meeting the other night. We're already borrowing $4.5 million just to operate county budget. You know, and that's
So it's
why.
because the taxes came in late. If they can never get those taxes out on time, we would be fine monetary
But
wise.
they've been borrowing $7 million in years past. They
Which
dwindled
went
it
down,
down
yeah.
to 4.5, but they couldn't do anything this year because the former administrator screwed up the budget. So none of the budget was cut this year. So they're still borrowing $4.5 million. And like I said, the problem is banks have stopped doing that. They don't do taxing. There's one bank that they find.
Which is amazing to me because there's always two things you can depend upon, death and taxes. And you know, good and well, the folks are going to pay the taxes eventually. That's the reason why I'm surprised more banks don't make that kind of loan.
But they mentioned Monday, if that one bank says we're not in that business anymore either, they're going to have to shut down the county government for the next 5 months until they can raise $4.5 million. So they have to be conscious of how much they're going to spend in this battle.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's going to become a battle. And like I said, the battle's going to wind up in court.
Well, I think everybody's going to try to do their best to try to keep it from court. If this, March 16th is really going to tell a lot, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting, March 16th.
But I already know that some of their PR stuff is starting to ease the fears, let people say, well, let's look at it a little bit more. It'll be interesting to see what happens after the March 16th meeting. Things go from there.
I said, I'm just glad to hear they're going to let people go out there and check it out. If you've never been out there, it's worth going out there and looking at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, it's just.
It looks a lot different than.
Whoever sold all that land made a fortune.
Yeah, it looks a lot different now than Goose Creek did back in the 60s and 70s when you go out there and it was just thrown in there and then the dirt thrown on top of it now.
But we have I took a lot of pictures. Jonathan's posting those pictures on Facebook, on our Facebook page. So if you want to go look at all the pictures, you can look at all that. That's just a video of the train going by where we were at, where they were clearing the land for the rail yard. You can just see how close
that train is.
Yeah.
All right. So just had a person text in, the taxes were on time last year. It doesn't have anything to do with 4.5. So,
right. It doesn't have anything to, the county government's not running in the, I mean, they're borrowing.
They're not in the black, yes, what you're trying to say.
Right.
But then other folks say they are in the black.
School boards aren't raising, they don't do a tax anticipation note. The city doesn't do a tax anticipation note, but the county for years have been doing a tax anticipation note. Like I said, at one point, it was up to close to $7 million.
But you say it's getting
They've
better.
dwindled it down to 4.5. But the problem is they have to borrow that money at the beginning of the year to operate.
Right.
And they said Monday, if that bank that is the loan bank that loans from that tax anticipation note decides we're not in that business either, they're going to be in bad shape.
Just have to go borrow money from the Gambino family up in New York.
Yeah.
110% interest. But it's interesting about all this because you're going to have different opinions on this, and from the way that I've heard that Republic has been talking to folks out there, that some folks out there, not a whole bunch, but some of them out there are starting to say, well, let's just take a little more look at this and let's keep an open mind and let's hear what they've got to say. Where to begin with, it was no. Now people are starting to say, yeah, well, let's just see what happens.
And the bottom line is they say the same thing other companies, which environmental issues talk about. We're regulated by the EPA, the EPD. They come in twice a year. They come in twice a year. They don't tell us when they're, that's their out. But the problem is, history's shown, can you trust the EPA and EPD? That's the bottom line. That's why you have disasters all across the,
I don't know. I know things are a lot stricter right now than they were 8 years ago.
The one thing that sticks out too, the comment, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Okay.
And that's what bothers people about issues like this.
Right.
They say it won't, if they've already had a leak, they talked about that yesterday, how they clean that up and everything like that. So I don't know. It's like I said, it'll be interesting how it all plays out. But please be there March 16th. That's the next step. And they're looking for a big crowd. And like I said, the Corps of Engineers is going to make a presentation. Republic's going to make a presentation in a question and answer session. And the city has agreed that afterwards they're going to stick around and take questions and answers from the public as well. So if you don't get to ask your question between the 7 and 9 period, there's going to be another meeting afterwards with the city commissioners, and you can talk to those people as well. So,
Delvis, you got an opinion on this? Anything? Have you kept up with it? Anything, or you just want to say, I'm going to look into it a little bit more?
No, absolutely not. I've been looking into it, and I will tell you, first of all, the elected leaders for Wayne County have been doing an amazing job of trying to get everybody on the same page. I am glad that EPD is finally acknowledging this and coming down here. You know, I'm amazed that Brantley County is not up in arms about this as well, because they actually will be greatly affected by this, more so than Wayne County, if there is a problem with that facility. My concern is water quality.
You being a well digger.
Sure.
Well digger.
The majority of wells in this area, in this region of the state, Wayne County, this side of the river, Wayne County, Brantley County, Pierce County, they're called Miocene wells. They're 200, 300-foot wells. Water table is actually as high as 80 feet in that basin. You do need to get EPD down here to address the public. It shouldn't be the county having to sue a private entity. The EPD, that's what they're for. We should get EPA down here. EPD and EPA do not get along. So if we have them both involved with this, doing testing, look, all we want is the facts. All we want to know is the facts of the situation. If there's a breach, if there is a risk with the water, let's know that. Let's fix it. Let's address it. We don't want to compile, more and more on top of that, because the problem becomes when it's mixed with the water. And, it is here, and we do have to get the facts of this, and we have made agreements. I understand that. We have to honor those agreements, but we have to figure out what direction we need to go. And the only way we're going to do that is through leadership and facts.
I know when, excuse me, when the Republic was on the other day, they talked about the liner. And of course, liners can break, which we all know that, but this is a pretty thick industrial type of liner that the coal ash going. But then they talked about that, was it, Bob, 12 feet of clay below that or something like that? Something like with 12, anywhere from 10 to 12 feet of clay below that, packed clay. Of course, we don't have clay around here, so you have to bring that in and compact it. And then even if it does get through the liner, it would take eons for anything to get through that clay. I mean, you're a well digger. How does that work?
Well, look, you get into situations where, we have a flood situation. Things happen, but there are monitoring wells there, and we can test the water. And if there's a problem with the levels, with the heavy metals that's in it, we've got to address it. Like I said, I'm surprised at the neighboring counties that are not interested in this, because they're the ones that's going to be, affected greater than Wayne County, quite honestly.
Mm-hmm.
They've been silent too. Where's the river keepers at? The people out there yesterday talked about they let the river keepers in there and all that. They seem to be, all aboard on this company. I haven't heard anything from them on.
Which is an environmental group.
Right. But where are they at?
And that's the thing. If everything's fine, when you do the water testing in these wells, they've got them. They've got these monitoring wells. You test that water quality and see if everything's fine, then we keep an eye on it and we watch it and we, try to look. We've already had an agreement. We've been bringing it in here for years, from what I understand, maybe 10 or 11 years.
Coal ash I don't think it's been real that many years, has it?
They said they brought in so many tonnage, but they stopped doing that at this time.
Right. But they have some out there.
Gotcha. Okay.
But like I said before, they're bringing 119 trucks in, and nobody knows what's in the trucks. So who knows what's
well, and the concern is you've got, we don't want to bring this in from other states. North Carolina's got to get rid of theirs from Duke Power, and we don't want it here. I feel certain that that's a general consensus, unless you're being paid for it. But
well, that's being on the coast like this. What if a Category 4 or 5 hurricane came through? Would that? You're talking about, look at what happened to other coastal towns when you've had that type of hurricane come through. How would that affect the water level out there, and all that?
Well, look, you hit it on the head a while ago. We don't have a natural clay basin here. It's sand. When you start drilling a well, you start at zero, and you're in sand all the way to probably 400 feet before you get into some clay. So we don't have a natural barrier there. So it's one of these things we have to be mindful. And the issue comes in with water. In the state that they're holding it, we're fine, I think. But But the main thing is we've got to all come together with the facts and sit down and decide how we're going to go forward through this. And it's a difficult situation.
It's train loads full of coal ash. That's the thing is a lot of folks are concerned about. It's not a little here, a little there. It's train loads full. I mean, if you're going to build a rail yard out there, so as the folks from Republic were saying last week, they've got their work cut out for them from a PR standpoint, and they're starting to work on that already. It'll be interesting to see on the March 16th meeting what other questions they are able to answer.
One other question I asked, people were asking, do they mix the coal ash with the other garbage? And they said they do not. Coal ash is separate than their garbage, so it's just a totally separate entity out there at the landfill. So I thought that was interesting. It doesn't mix with the other garbage. It's just a separate entity. That's why they're building a rail yard. So it goes one location, 6-acre piece of property that they've cleared out. And like I said, it's right by the railroad track. So it's just, like I said, they're fixing to build that rail yard to, that's what was funny too. They kept talking about, well, people keep talking about we're going to bring all this coal ash. We don't even have a customer yet. We're not, believe me, like Bill Harvey said in the interview, they're not clearing that land for their health. Well, they're clearing it because they've got plans that they're going to bring it in, and they're going to bring it in by the train load, and it's going to make the company millions of dollars.
Absolutely, and that's, I don't have all the answers. I've just been getting into this the last couple of months, but I will tell you that Wayne County is on the same page that the leaders are. I've talked to every one of them, and we've got to get some outlook. So far, Wayne County's been left alone. No outside help, and EPD, that's what they're for. They need to be here. I'm glad that they're going to be here next week. We've got to get the facts, and we've got to have our leaders going forward. I think
thanks to Buddy Carter, he did that too. Buddy Carter pushed because at one time they weren't going to even come, but Buddy Carter worked hard up in Washington, D.C., got their ears, so and we were to set this meeting up, and they are coming. So, and I think most of the state representatives are planning to come there. I know Chad, I talked to him, he's coming. I don't know if Tom's coming or not, but it's good to see. Like I said, the more people involved with this, the better it's going to be for Wayne County. So it's good to see our leadership. Like I said, the local leadership has been very involved, trying to get as much as they can. I said, I thought it was very interesting that when Bill Harvey asked him the question about the contract, everything's been talked about the contract, 2005, no one's ever about the contract. And he asked that guy, he said, look, there's a lot of fear about that contract. They think it's a one-sided contract. Is there any way they can renegotiate parts of that contract? And they stated point blank in that interview, they'd be willing to sit down with the county and go over that contract. So maybe that's the first step, to sit down with Republic and our attorney, the county, whatever, and go line by line and see what's not comfortable, what is comfortable, and maybe renegotiate the contract so there's a better feeling between the county and the Republic concerning the contract, because that seems to be the big issue, is the 2005 contract. No one seems to be happy with it.
Well, as Delvis Dutton just said, everybody needs to get the facts and make a decision from there, do our due diligence, and see what's best for the citizens of Wayne County, and that's what everybody's working on. All right, we've got to go. We're running way over. Delvis Dutton, thanks for coming in. Folks, you can go by and see him tomorrow at the train depot here in Jessup between 11 and 1:30 tomorrow, and have some lunch and visit with him as he's running for state senate. All right, the world-famous Butch and Bob Show brought to you by Parker Insurance and Realty.